Well, God bless the Commonwealth of Virginia. What an incredible time we find ourselves in. You know, every election matters. But have we ever seen anything like this? You look at where today's Democrats are. Holy cow. Like, am I the only person who, when you turn on the TV and listen to what they're saying, you go, what in the heck are you talking about? I mean, it has gotten, think about it, just a couple of years ago, you'd have someone like, say, Bernie Sanders, crazy Bernie over on the left, talking about socialism. And all the other Democrats would be saying, no, we're not with him. And now suddenly every Democrat's, yeah, I'm a socialist too. The whole lot of them. We've got Joe Biden saying we just need to shut our economy down. Because that's a really great idea. And then they're talking about abolishing the police. Six months ago, if I had to come in front of you and said, you know what, the Democrats want to abolish the police, you'd have said to me, all right, Ted, that's a little out there. I mean, let's be honest, nobody is that crazy. And by the way, this is not theoretical. They're doing it. New York City, NYPD, cutting $1 billion from their police department. Minneapolis, Portland, my home state of Texas, the Austin City Council cut $150 million, a third of their police budget. This election, we're 9 days out from, is a battle for the soul of America. And the contrast, you know, for anyone sitting on the fence, the contrast could not be starker. The contrast between free enterprise and socialism. The contrast between rule of law and the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and lawless anarchy in the streets. This is a battle for what kind of country we're going to live in and what kind of country our kids and grandkids are going to live in. This is as fundamental as it gets. You look at right now today's Democratic Party, the people driving the train are the crazy left. It's Bernie and Elizabeth Warren and AOC, who keeps stomping her foot saying, Mr. President, call me Congresswoman. Like, what the hell's wrong with you, lady? Like, that's just dumb. But that's who's setting the agenda. And this election, let me tell you what the media has decided. The media has decided that Virginia is bright blue.
No. Heck no.
The media has decided that all the residents of Virginia like crazy-ass liberals.
No.
The media's decided, I mean, look, who hasn't had their medical school yearbook page with a picture of a friggin' Klansman in it. It is not some Democrat from the 1860s. By the way, those were the people who founded the Klan, those Democrats. This is the current sitting Democratic governor of Virginia. And let me just set a real simple rule for politics that I actually think ought to be a universal rule. If you cannot stand up and say with absolute certainty, I have never dressed in a Klansman's robe, then don't run for office. And I got to pause for a second for that scandal that it seems all the media forgot.
Right.
Because if you remember when it broke, all right, well, let's go through a little bit of the chronology. So it broke right after the governor talked about aborting children after they were born. And by the way, I got to say, if you haven't actually listened to that interview where Virginia's governor explains how he would deliver a child, alive, breathing, crying, he would comfort the child, and then have a conversation with the mother about what to do with that child. What do you mean, what to do with that child? And I got to say, that interview, what's chilling is how utterly calm he is about it.
Yep. Dr. Duck.
It's like he's discussing ordering the socks in his drawers. So that's where today's Democrats are. And by the way, when the Senate took up and voted on legislation that said once a child is delivered, is born, is alive and living, that the doctor cannot then kill the child. If you want to understand where today's Democratic Party is, the Senate Democrats, one after the other, voted no on that. Kamala Harris voted no on that. So the governor was in the midst of that self-created scandal, when suddenly his yearbook page came out. By the way, somewhere there's a Republican opposition researcher that I'm assuming is still drinking heavily.
Yeah.
That he didn't find this thing. But the guy's yearbook page comes out, and it's got a picture of one guy dressed in a Klan's robe and another guy dressed in blackface. Now, the media is weird. In a lot of ways, I could just end, period. The media is weird. But they've got right now a fixation on blackface, which I don't entirely get. Look, that's not something I've ever dressed at, but, you know, last I checked, when Jimmy Kimmel dressed as Karl Malone, it wasn't the end of the world.
Exactly.
But when the story broke, Governor Northam said, well, yeah, I could have been one of the two guys in the picture, and I'm not sure which one. And the media proceeded to call it the blackface scandal. And I'm like the whole rest of the world go, wait a second, dude. You're saying, A, this is the picture in your yearbook. Usually you put things in your yearbook you're kind of proud of. And B, you're saying your first reaction is, I don't know if that's me or not. Messed up. And by the way, Governor Northam, you can't moonwalk your way out of it. But the media is convinced that that's who Virginia is. That you're happily in the hands of the far left. That Virginia agrees with that. I don't believe that's right. Let me tell you what I believe about Virginia. I believe the men and women of this state love freedom.
That's right.
I believe the men and women of this state love your families, and you want your families to have jobs and an education and a brighter future tomorrow than they've got today. Now, sadly, Virginia elected a Democrat to this district, whose first vote was a vote for Nancy Pelosi as Speaker. How's Nancy done? Let me tell you, as a practical matter, I spent the first 2 years of the Trump presidency. We had a Republican majority in the House, a Republican majority in the Senate, and if you look at what we accomplished in just 2 years, we passed the biggest tax cut of a generation. We repealed job-killing regulations, and together that produced at the beginning of this year the lowest unemployment in 50 years. We had the lowest African American unemployment ever recorded. The lowest Hispanic unemployment ever recorded. We were seeing poverty going down. We were seeing wages going up. We were seeing prosperity increasing. And by the way, on top of that, we're in the middle of the biggest military rebuild since Ronald Reagan. And the president is nominated and the Senate has confirmed over 200 new federal judges to the federal judiciary. And the reason I'm delayed, I just came from driving from the Senate. And at 7 p.m. tomorrow night, Judge Amy Coney Barrett will be Justice Amy Coney Barrett. And all of that record of success ground to a halt when Nancy Pelosi took the gavel. If you look at the Democratic House, compare the first 2 years of the Trump presidency to the second 2 years. First 2 years, we accomplished big victories for the American people. Second 2 years, Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats have zero interest in jobs, zero interest in defending this country. Their only priority is attacking the President of the United States and impeaching the President of the United States.
Those were my 5 stars.
And where we are right now, look, we're at a time where this country's hurting. We're dealing with a pandemic. Too many people have died. And we're dealing with economic devastation, as 51 million Americans have lost their jobs in the last 6 months. So, as we go to the polls, we got to make a choice. How do we get out of it? How do we get the economy moving again? We've seen prosperity, and by the way, you don't have to look back to ancient history. You can look back to the beginning of the year.
Right.
Before this virus, this pandemic, came from Wuhan, China, or as Joe Biden would put it, where? What? I'm sorry, I don't understand. Come on, man. He really does say that a lot. By the way, I will tell you, I think I am the only person here who has actually received a Joe Biden back rub. It's a true story. I'm a brand new freshman senator. We're in the middle of fighting on gun control. I'm on the Senate floor, pounding on the Democrats that are trying to take away our Second Amendment. And I come up to Joe Manchin, Democrat from West Virginia, less crazy than most of the rest of the Democrats. And I'm talking to Joe Manchin, and Joe Biden, who's vice president, he comes behind me. So I'm here, Manchin's here, and Biden comes right behind me, puts both hands on my shoulders, begins massaging my shoulders and rocking back and forth. And he turns to Manchin, he said, "Nothing worse than dealing with a smart Republican." And there are not many times that I'm speechless. But I'm like, dude. Get off. Yes. Look, when our puppy does this at home, we smack him with a newspaper. But this choice for America, 9 days. Election day is 9 days from now. If the Democrats win, we're screwed. Yes. If we have a Biden, Pelosi, Schumer administration, let me tell you what they're going to do. First thing they're going to do is Chuck Schumer is going to end the filibuster in the Senate.
Second thing they'll do is turn it over to Kamala.
When they end the filibuster, that means they stop the ability of the minority to stop any of the radical agenda they're going to force through. Their top priority then will be cementing in their majority in the opening months of a new administration. We'll see them add 2 new states to the United States. D.C. and Puerto Rico. Why? Because they believe it'll give them 4 new Democratic senators. Not only do they intend to reverse the Trump tax cuts, but they will pass massive tax increases. Because when the economy is hurting, when the economy is on its knees, struggling to get up, the best thing you can do is tax the hell out of everybody. You're going to see massive regulations. You're going to see amnesty for 15 million new Americans here illegally. You're going to see, by the way, I don't know if you picked up, you mentioned Kamala a minute ago. I don't know if you picked up and heard the vice presidential debate, where Kamala talked about one of their agendas is ending cash bail. That's interesting. That kind of sounds, okay, ending cash bail, what does that mean? That means when somebody commits a violent crime and you arrest them, you let them go and say, bye, come on back. Okay, in the immigration world, they call that catch and release. Let me be real clear. When you got a murderer, when you got a rapist, when you got somebody committing violent crime, you need to lock them up, prosecute them, and send them to jail a long time. And they will also pack the U.S. Supreme Court. One of their first agenda items will be to increase the number of justices from 9 to either 11 or 13. Now, why do they want to do that? Why do they want to put 4 new radicals on the court instantaneously? Because they want to come after your constitutional rights and my constitutional rights. If they take over the Supreme Court, we will see our rights to free speech taken away. We'll see our religious liberty taken away. will see the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms taken away. That's what this is a fight for. Those liberties, what it means to be a free American. You know, I'm proud to be down here supporting Nick Freitas. Nick is a badass. That's a technical term of art. He's a veteran. He stood up and fought for our country. And he loves liberty. And by the way, he loves liberty in a way you can't fake it. I love listening to Nick talk about the freedoms we have in America. I love listening to Nick when Democrats attack. Isn't that like a Shark Week episode? When Democrats attack! Because you know what Nick does? He understands being a happy warrior. He understands responding with a smile, but also responding with the truth. The truth is the ideas of the Democrats, they don't work, they're bankrupt, and they destroy America. This election here matters. Now look, we're out here on a cold, rainy day, standing in horse manure. Frankly, sort of feels like the Senate.
Yes, it does.
What that means is I am confident the men and women here, y'all are going to vote.
Yep.
You either have voted or you will vote.
Yep.
If you'll come out here on a cold, rainy afternoon, you're going to vote. But I'm going to make a different ask of you. I want everyone here to commit right now that you're going to vote to re-elect the president, you're going to vote to give Virginia a Republican senator, and I want you to commit to vote for Nick Freitas 10 times. Now look, we're not Democrats. I can see some of the reporters pull out their notepads. Oh, I got a story here. Voter fraud. No, I'm not urging voter fraud. What I am urging is if you come out and vote on election day, and you find 9 other people that wouldn't have voted otherwise, and you get them to come out and vote, you've just voted 10 times. And that's the difference between winning and losing. Because listen, this election, the crazy left, they're showing up. They are pissed off. They really, really, really don't like the president.
They hate us.
And you're right. They hate us. They look down on everyone here as a bunch of ignorant rubes that need to be governed by what they deem are intellectual betters.
Thank you.
They are going to show up. But I believe in this country there are a lot more common sense conservatives. There are a lot more people who love freedom, who believe in free enterprise, who believe in small business, who believe in opportunity. There are a lot more people who believe in free speech. By the way, the great thing about free speech, that's true. And it allows anybody to say anything. The Constitution protects your right to say the dumbest things imaginable. as my Democratic colleagues prove every day. And I will defend their right to keep saying stupid things. But you look at what the left wants to do. They don't want free speech. They want to censor you. They want to silence you. They want there to be one view and one view only. They want cancel culture. How many radical leftists does it take to screw in a light bulb? That's not funny! They are so shrill and angry and humorless. So look, let's not respond in kind. Let's be joyful, happy warriors. If you had to sell the pile of stinking manure that they're trying to sell, you'd be angry too.
Yeah.
But we know they're going to show up. Religious liberty. The beauty of religious liberty is it protects diversity, every one of us to seek out and worship the Lord God Almighty with all of our hearts, minds, and souls. To live according to your conscience. And by the way, that's true, whatever faith. If you're Christian, if you're Jewish, if you're Muslim, if you're no faith at all, that's between you and your Maker. But you look at what the radical left wants to do, and they want to strip away this freedom. You know, Virginia is called the birthplace of presidents. Many of the founding fathers were Virginians. When it comes to defending freedom, that is a tradition steeped in the soil, steeped in the DNA of the men and women of Virginia. So I'm here this afternoon to say thank you for everything that you have done. But as we say in Texas, thank you for everything you're fixing to do.
That's right.
We got 9 days of work ahead. 9 days of work ahead to preserve freedom in the Commonwealth of Virginia. 9 days of work ahead to preserve freedom in the United States of America. 9 days of work ahead to preserve the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And the patriots here, just like the patriots before us, have defended freedom, and we will always rise and defend freedom. So thank you for your vigilance for America.